I was recently asked the question, what fights do you want to see happen in 2014, Bayloric? And I said to myself, there's one fight I want to see in 2014, and it's Kell Brook fighting for the welterweight championship of the world. Now, before you start thinking I'm a hater here, I'm not a hater. I'm just a realist. And this is going to be very interesting, because when people talk about world title final eliminators and being ready for a world title shot, I have to ask the question, what has Kell Brook done to deserve a world title shot? I mean, in terms of prepare for a world title shot, he fought Carson Jones the first time and almost got knocked out by Carson Jones in the last round, and was getting beaten up by Carson Jones. Okay, people say he wasn't fit, he wasn't this, he wasn't that. Okay, fine. He has a return fight against Carson Jones, and he beats Carson Jones, albeit at, if I'm right, super welterweight, which is light middleweight. So that wasn't Carson Jones' normal weight, and Kell Brook looked much stronger at light middleweight. Okay, he has a blowout fight in a round against a guy who is supposedly the final eliminator for the title, and then he had 3 pullouts against Devon Alexander. Now, the thing I ask myself is this: what has Kell Brook actually done at world level to suggest that he's good enough to win a world title? Now, I think Kell Brook is a decent fighter at European level, but there's a huge jump between European level and world level. Sky Sports analysts would love to tell you that Kell Brook is world class and he's put on a world class performance and he's definitely one of the best welterweights in the world. But are you serious? Are you serious? When you're talking about the top 10 welterweights in the world, let's talk about Mayweather, let's talk about Amir Khan, let's talk about no, forget Amir Khan because he's not even a welterweight. So let's start again. Let's talk about Mayweather, let's talk about Pacquiao, let's talk about Robert Guerrero, let's talk about Andre Berto, let's talk about Jesus Soto Carras, who Keith Thurman just fought. Let's talk about Keith Thurman himself. Let's talk about Adrian Broner. I mean, okay, let's talk about Marcos Maidana. Okay, let's talk about Sean Porter. Those guys I mentioned there. Okay, I'll even throw Amir Khan into the mix, because Amir Khan has fought Danny Garcia and Marcos Maidana. Okay, think what you want about Amir Khan. He's fought the guys. Okay. Kell Brook hasn't done that yet, but yet Kell Brook is considered world class. And every time I hear Jim Watson says, "It's world class, it's world class," every time I hear that, it makes me cringe, because he's done nothing at world level. And what's going to end up happening is, for me, Kell Brook again is a decent fighter. I don't think he's got any form of inside game and defense. His way of defending punches is slipping his head out of the way and relying on reflexes. He's open to a right hand and a left hook, and if the Carson Jones fight shouldn't worry you, then the Shevchenko fight should really worry you. People say, "Oh, he blew Shevchenko over, great punches and all the rest of it." That's not what I look at in a fighter when he's winning a fight. I'm looking at how he reacts when he gets caught with a punch. Shevchenko badly rocked Brook before Brook ended the fight. And that's Shevchenko, who's 36? And Shevchenko really, I don't think is a world beater. I'd like to see how Brook would have dealt with Carras, or how he'd deal with a Thurman, or how he'd fight a Pacquiao, or Guerrero, or even fighting Adrian Broner, who everyone thinks is small at the weight. Right? I'd love to see how Brook fights against these guys, because personally I don't think his technique is going to be good enough when he moves up the next level. When he's got a guy coming at him who hits just as hard or harder than him and can fight on the inside, I don't think Brook is going to be good enough. I don't think Brook's got good enough hand speed. I don't think he's got good enough footwork against the elite fighters. Against European fighters and fringe contenders for the world title, Brook may look good and his technique may look good. But against the really top elite fighters, if he's struggling against Carson Jones, right, and you're getting wobbled by guys like, Shevchenko, right, I'm sorry, who Malignaggi beat for the world title, and Malignaggi's no puncher. If you're getting wobbled by guys like that, That's my concern. Because someone like a Sean Porter or Pacquiao or Marcos Maidana or Alcaraz, if those guys hit you on the chin, they're not going to stand and look at you. They're looking to take you out. So where Brook had the chance to recover against a guy who kind of let him off the hook and didn't think he'd hurt him, or was more surprised that you hurt him than actually had the intention to hurt him, against that level of opposition, is Brook good enough? And why is he not fought for a world title this far? Frank Warren made a very valid point. He says, in all the time I had Kell Brook, I never once got him a world title shot because he never wanted it. And I don't really think Kell Brook actually wants a world title. I don't think he fancies himself against the top guys. I think he's done a lot of talking, but he really needs to fight at elite level. And, you know, he was calling that at one point Sugar Shane Mosley. I don't know. He's got to fight against Shane Porter. That's going to be a fight against Porter. Now, if he can beat Porter, he's going places, because Porter beat Devin Alexander pretty convincingly. But Porter's going to be no mug. He's going to come with both hands flying. And you've got to ask yourself the question, if Porter starts landing those bombs on Brook's chin, do you think he's going to respond? Those are the questions. Because he's got no inside game. Does he know how to hold when he's hurt? Does he know how to come back when he's under pressure in a big fight? Again, he did it against a 36-year-old. Can he do it against a young, strong, unbeaten, proven warrior? You know, what's going to happen? How is he going to respond? Let's imagine in that night that was Keith Thurman hitting him on the chin. What would have happened there? You know, we need to know what happens. Keith Thurman, who I interviewed recently, said to me, when I asked him about Kell Brook, his response was, well, you know, Kell Brook, he's big, he's strong, he's a solid welterweight. So he recognises that Brook is a natural welterweight. But his problem is that Brook hasn't really been tested. But then Thurman turned around and said, well, you know what, the same could be said of me. However, when you look at Thurman's record, Thurman's been in with two guys who can crack. Diego Chavez was unbeaten, a knockout artist. And I don't think there's anybody that Brook has fought in his career so far who's been unbeaten, ranked number one, and, you know, knocking guys out. I mean, he hasn't fought anybody of that caliber yet. So, let's see Brook fight a Diego Chavez and see how he does. Let's see him fight a Marcos Maidana. Let's see how he does against Porter. Let's see if he actually takes the Porter fight. For me, I want to see Brook in a world title fight, and I want him to prove me completely wrong and show me that he is the business and he really is Special K. But for me, the verdict's out. I think he's overrated. I think he's a good fighter, but I think he is given way too much credit. And this year, he's got to fight for a world title. This is the time to find out. But I fear for a lot of fans that Brook is going to be exposed at world level. Maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe I'm being a hater. But I think I've had my heart broken way too many times in the past by, as my dad says, backing losers. I don't want to say he's a loser because he's unbeaten and you can't knock an unbeaten record. But what you can do is examine the opposition and how you respond under the opposition. And Brook in that Sischenko fight, for me, you know, led more questions that needed to be answered than anything. So let me know what you guys think. I'm sure there are Kell Brook fans out there who are going to smash me to pieces and tell me that I'm being really harsh and being a hater. I'm just being honest, just giving an honest opinion. Let me know you guys.